The Afreximbank has kicked off its historic 31st annual meetings, which is being held for the first time in the Bahamas. This year's event is incorporating the third Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum 2024. We're going to cross over now to the Bahamas. We're going to speak to Arise anchors Mairo-Ese and international correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya. Ayo and Adefemi, great to have you both again. So how has day two gone down so far in the Bahamas?
Hello, Rotus, and good evening, everyone. It's a big day here in the Bahamas for this day two of the Afrexim annual meetings. As we've seen really big deals, agreements being signed. I think that's one of the high points of today. And later on, in a few minutes, we're going to be having a conversation with presidents and leaders from African and Caribbean nations present here, particularly where we have the presidential conversation, and we're looking at about 48 past and present African and Caribbean leaders.
Fantastic. So I hear Viola Davis, we got a snippet of her signing some kind of deal. What did Viola Davis discuss while she was over there?
Thanks so much. So Viola Davis was here, and before I tell you about the actual details, because I think that it's incredibly important for you to know, Rotis, that Viola Davis does actually know who Ayo and I are.
Oh, nice.
We spoke to her one-on-one. She didn't speak to us on camera, but we were there. We were there.
Yes, we were.
Viola Davis, she did sign a memorandum of understanding. Rotis, you don't need to laugh that loud. It's not a joke. I'm bragging. Basically, I'm bragging. But Viola Davis, she did sign a memorandum of intent with Afreximbank and a fund for export development to create an African film development value chain. This obviously encompasses the entire continent, and looking at Nigeria specifically, because we have the mega issue that is Nollywood, it is definitely something that we hope will reach the Nigerian people there. But yes, she spoke at length. She was on stage with her husband and a New York Times bestselling author. The three of them took to the stage in their conversation with CNN's Oscar Jimenez.
Yes.
It was a great conversation about the creative industries. As we all know, Viola Davis is a decorated actress, and one of her roles has been the African Woman King?
Was King Woman.
King Woman.
And they referred to it in her conversation on stage yesterday. It was very important for her to talk about the power of storytelling and the fact that we must own our narrative, especially with regards to how we position Africa and the Caribbean, and how it also impacts on trade in terms of portraying whether we are, nations suffering and poverty stricken, but instead portraying the strengths, the opportunities, the fact that we can tell our story and we can use it to attract funding and investment to the continent.
Fantastic. So yeah, I love The Woman King, and it was shot in South Africa. So you guys have really linked everything together there. What about Aliko Dangote? I heard he shared some candid thoughts about being an industrialist and the challenges there. And what were some of the takeaways for you following that discussion?
His conversation yesterday was amazing. He's also here today. We have seen him walking up and down. We're kind of hoping that he'll walk right past here, that we're on live, here that we're speaking to Rotis, and might just make an appearance just for you.
Just might.
But his conversation yesterday was amazing. He spoke very candidly, as you said. He talked about the journey that he embarked on building that edifice, which is his refinery. He talked about some regrets he had. Had he had the opportunity again, he would not go through with that project. He said that it took a lot, and were it not for the likes of Afreximbank, he didn't believe that this refinery project would make it to where it made it to. In addition to that, and I hate to be the person bringing the unserious things out to the front, but Dangote did talk about how there are some shady characters.
Oh yes, he did.
In the oil industry.
He mentioned.
And, you don't want to be completely naive, but he said it a few times.
Yes.
Even in our one-on-one conversation, that the oil mafia.
He actually compared it to the drug mafia and said, in fact, the oil mafia is possibly more organized, deeper than the drug mafia, and just how he's had to break through that barrier to ensuring that he was able to build the industry that would hopefully have a ripple effect in terms of impact for the African continent and beyond.
Absolutely, and it is such an amazing thing because he talks, in addition to those negative aspects, even allies, people that he does care about, their opinion, telling them this is a huge project. I don't think this is something that an individual should do. He talked about his colleagues in Saudi Arabia saying that this is something a sovereign wealth fund, a country that has that type of framework, should focus on. So what he has done is definitely what he usually does, which is succeed in uncharted territory, but it did lead to a wider conversation about industrialization across the African continent, and then that opens the door to environmental issues, whether or not Africa should continue to prioritize industrialization despite any type of blowback on the environment. But it was a great conversation. He spoke at length about his journey towards industrialization, and I think it is always a pride to know that Aliko Dangote is one of ours.
Absolutely. I think something else to mention as part of that conversation was, he had also talked about the importance of institutions like Afrexim and banks, development banks that fund crazy ideas, in his words, crazy initiatives, or bold, if I use that word, initiatives, or, movements like his refinery. And he said it was impossible to have achieved that without the support of Afreximbank. He also mentioned Access Bank and also the International Finance, IFC Corporation. He also mentioned that as well as being big supporters of his great dream.
Fantastic stuff. You guys have been doing some
coming through.
Fantastic. Look, we're out of time. You guys, the two tallest women, frankly, I think you should check, you fact check me. You're two of the tallest women at the Afrexim.
Do you know what?
Yeah, right?
Do you know what, Rotis?
Yes, that is correct.
We wouldn't be good journalists if we let you say that on television. We wouldn't let you do it because as the tallest women that arise, including OG, we were quite comfortable that we would be the tallest women here. I've counted 2 women that are taller than me.
Actually, we've seen a number, but we still stood out. It's
still
a credit to Rise. I think you have the tallest broadcasters
in
Africa and the Caribbean.
We've got competition.
Adefemi, Akinsanya, Mairo-Ese, thank you so much. Continue the great work. We'll follow up with you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much. Take care.